Elliot Kane wiped the sweat off his forehead as he stepped out of the maintenance tunnel. The hum of Titan Colony's energy grids buzzed faintly in the background, a sound he had grown used to over the years. It was another long day of repairs and inspections, the kind that made him feel like a machine himself. His uniform, streaked with dust and coolant stains, clung uncomfortably to his tired frame. "Uncle, come on," a small voice called out from behind. Elliot turned to see his 8-year-old nephew, Jasper, bouncing on his feet, his brown hair messy from playing in the hydroponics lab. Jasper's bright eyes sparkled with excitement, completely unaware of how exhausted Elliot felt. "I can't, Jasper," Elliot said, his voice soft but firm. "I've just finished a 12-hour shift. I need rest." "But you promised." Jasper pouted. "You said we'd go see the ice cream lady today." "Jasper problem. Jasper problem. Jasper problem." Elliot sighed, rubbing his temple. Ice cream was the last thing on his mind, but looking at Jasper's hopeful face, he couldn't say no. All right, let's go," he relented, giving in with a faint smile. Jasper's grin stretched from ear to ear, and he grabbed Elliot's hand, tugging him down the busy streets of the colony. Titan's settlement was a marvel of human engineering, with towering glass domes, glowing walkways, and hover vehicles zipping past. Despite the harsh, icy environment outside, inside the dome, life buzzed with energy. People rushed past, busy with their own lives, their faces often set in tired determination. As they walked, Jasper chattered about his day at school. "We planted alien herbs in the new garden," he said, bouncing on the balls of his feet. "Some of them glow. Did you know that some of them even smell like candy?" Elliot chuckled softly, though his body felt heavy with fatigue. Jasper's energy was infectious, a bright contrast to the dull routine Elliot had been living for months. He let himself be led, allowing the boy to pull him toward the small market sector of the colony. At the far end of the market, under a small glowing canopy, was a tiny ice cream stand. It looked simple at first glance, but it had something unique. The owner, Lyra. She was not human. Her skin shimmered a soft blue, catching the light from the canopy. Her eyes glowed faintly with a pale silver hue, and her hair floated slightly, as if she carried a permanent breeze around her. She smiled as Jasper approached, her hands busy serving a colorful cone to another child. "Hello, little one," she said, her voice musical and soothing. "Did you come back for another flavor today?" Jasper nodded eagerly. "Yes, Uncle says he'll get some too." Elliot hesitated, unused to talking to someone so different. Her presence was calming, yet somehow alien. He felt awkward standing there, unsure what to say. Jasper, however, had no hesitation at all. He looked at Lyra and said, without a moment's thought, "If you married my uncle, he'd smile every day." "Ed." Elliot froze. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. The statement was so simple, so innocent, yet it struck him in a way he didn't expect. He could feel his cheeks warming. Lyra tilted her head, eyes widening slightly in surprise. Then, she laughed softly, a gentle, melodic sound. "Well, that's quite a statement from a wise young man. I think I'd like to see that smile, Mr. Kane." Elliot finally found his voice, chuckling awkwardly. "I'm not sure if I can promise that, Jasper." Jasper shrugged, unconcerned. "I know you can. You just need someone like her around." He grabbed a small hover coin from his pocket and handed it to Lyra. "One blue sparkle cone, please." Lyra accepted the coin gracefully and handed Jasper the cone, its colors shifting like liquid starlight. "Here you go. One special cone for a very special boy." Jasper took a bite, his eyes lighting up instantly. "Wow! Uncle, you have to try this. It tastes like happiness." Elliot hesitated. He had worked long hours, eaten whatever ration packs were available, and rarely had the chance to enjoy something so simple. But seeing Jasper's excitement made him laugh. All right, he said. I'll try one. Lyra smiled, offering him a cone. For you, a little taste of something bright. You've earned it today. Elliot took the cone cautiously, surprised by the sweet, refreshing flavor that seemed almost alive on his tongue. He had never tasted anything like it. He looked at Lyra, who was watching him with a gentle curiosity. For a moment, he forgot about the colony's exhausting routines, the endless repairs, and the buzzing machines. It's amazing, he said, genuinely. He looked at Jasper, who was grinning from ear to ear. You were right, little man. This does make me smile. Jasper's face lit up even more. See? I told you. Lyra laughed again, her voice like wind chimes. Perhaps I should make more cones then, just to see that smile every day. Elliot shook his head, still smiling. He realized something he hadn't thought about in years. Simple joys, shared with others, could make even the hardest days lighter. And somehow, Jasper's innocent matchmaking had introduced him to one of those joys. As the afternoon sun, or rather, the artificial light simulating Titan's sun glowed softly over the colony, Elliot found himself talking more easily with Lyra. They discussed flavors, small recipes, and the oddities of life in a distant settlement. She listened patiently, asking questions about his work, and Elliot felt a sense of connection he hadn't experienced in years. Jasper, satisfied that his plan was working, sat happily licking his cone, occasionally glancing up to make sure Elliot was smiling. Every time Elliot laughed at something Lyra said, Jasper clapped his small hands in delight. By the time the three of them finally left the ice cream stand, the sky above Titan's dome had turned a deep indigo. The colony lights twinkled like stars, reflecting off the icy surfaces outside the protective domes. Elliot carried a new sense of lightness in his chest, something he hadn't felt in months. He realized that a simple moment, shared with a child and a stranger, had reminded him of something fundamental. Life was not just about survival. It was about connection, joy, and sometimes, a magical scoop of ice cream. As they walked home, Jasper whispered conspiratorially, "Uncle, tomorrow we should bring her some alien berries. I think she'd love them." Elliot laughed softly, shaking his head. "All right, little man. Tomorrow we'll do that. But for now, let's just enjoy the evening." And for the first time in a long while, Elliot Kane smiled without effort. The next morning, Titan Colony's artificial sky glowed faintly with the pale orange light of a simulated sunrise. Elliot Kane sat at the edge of the hydroponics lab, sipping a warm drink while Jasper darted around, inspecting the glowing plants they had nurtured together. The boy's energy seemed endless, and his excitement was contagious. "Uncle, come on. We have to bring the berries to Lyra." Their faint glow reflected off his cheeks, making him look like a tiny comet streaking across the room. Elliot sighed, a small smile tugging at his lips. All right. Let's go. But we'll be careful no spilling anything this time." Jasper giggled, holding the basket carefully as they made their way back to the market sector. Elliot walked slowly beside him, noticing how vibrant the market seemed in the morning. Merchants from various human colonies and a few visiting aliens had set up their stalls. The air buzzed with chatter, the clink of coins, and the hum of hover carts gliding over the smooth surface of the dome. When they reached the small ice cream stand, Lyra was already there, arranging colorful cones and toppings for the early visitors. Her silver eyes lit up when she saw them approaching. "Good morning, little one," she said, kneeling slightly to meet Jasper's height. "And good morning, Mr. Kane. I see you've brought something special today." Jasper held out the basket proudly. "These are for you. Uncle helped me pick them from the garden." Lyra's hands hovered over the glowing berries. "How beautiful. Thank you." These will make the new flavor I've been experimenting with even better." She smiled at Elliot. "You've been busy teaching this young man well." Elliot chuckled softly, scratching the back of his neck. "We just did a little gardening. He does most of the work himself." Lyra's eyes twinkled with amusement. "Ah, a humble gardener. Yet, you also brought joy to a small boy and a tired engineer yesterday. That counts for a lot." Jasper jumped up and down. "See, Uncle? I told you she'd make you smile every day." Elliot laughed, feeling lighter than he had in months. The boy's optimism was infectious, and Lyra's calm, friendly nature made him feel at ease in a way he had forgotten existed. He noticed small things about her that day, how her fingers moved delicately while handling the berries, how her voice rose and fell with a musical rhythm, and how her smile seemed to brighten the area around her. Lyra carefully picked a few berries from the basket and added them to a small blender-like machine, mixing them with a swirl of colors and shimmering crystals. The mixture sparkled as if sprinkled with starlight. "Would you like to taste it?" she asked, turning to Elliot with a playful look. He hesitated, then nodded. "Sure, why not?" She handed him a cone filled with the glowing mixture. As he took a bite, his eyes widened. The flavor was unlike anything he had experienced before, sweet, tangy, with a hint of warmth that seemed to seep into his chest. For a moment, the mechanical hum of the colony faded, replaced by a gentle, comforting glow in his mind. "Wow," Elliot murmured, looking at Lyra. This is incredible." Jasper clapped his hands. "I knew it. I told you." Lyra laughed softly, a sound that made Elliot notice just how pleasant human and alien interaction could feel. "I think we've discovered a new favorite flavor, thanks to both of you." The three of them spent the morning experimenting with different combinations of berries and alien ingredients. Jasper eagerly suggested new flavors. Elliot contributed ideas based on what he knew about textures and sweetness, and Lyra guided them with patience and creativity. By the time the sun reached its simulated midday point, they had created 5 new ice cream flavors, each one glowing with its own color and radiating a unique scent. It was the first time in months that Elliot felt truly relaxed. The work at the colony was never-ending, and the weight of responsibility often left him exhausted and impatient. But here, in this simple corner of the market, surrounded by a young boy and an alien woman who cared enough to listen, he felt alive. "Uncle, do you think she'll like the Starlight Surprise flavor?" Jasper asked, holding a bright pink cone with golden swirls. Elliot smiled. "I think she'll love it. You two make a good team." Lyra picked up the cone and sniffed it carefully. Exquisite. This could become a signature flavor of the colony. And it's made by humans and a little human heart," she said, looking at Jasper. Jasper beamed. "I helped." "You did more than help, little one," Elliot said, ruffling his nephew's hair. "You brought some magic into our day." As the day went on, more colonists began stopping by Lyra's stand. Some were human, some were alien visitors, all curious about the glowing cones. Elliot noticed that people lingered longer than usual, chatting, laughing, and sharing their own experiences. Even brief interactions seemed to lift spirits in the colony. It was a small reminder that life, even on a distant moon, could be full of joy and connection. Elliot found himself drawn into conversations he would normally avoid. He spoke with a visiting scientist about energy-efficient systems for the colony, shared stories with a merchant about growing plants in harsh environments, and even laughed at a child's joke about a berry that glowed too brightly. Lyra guided him gently in these interactions, her calm presence, encouraging him to step outside the walls he had built around himself. By mid-afternoon, the market had quieted down, and Elliot noticed something remarkable. He hadn't once thought about the exhaustion of his shift, the stress of repairs, or the never-ending responsibilities that usually pressed on his mind. For the first time in months, he was present, truly present, enjoying the simple act of being with someone who cared and a child who believed in the power of happiness. "Uncle, I think we should make this a weekly thing," Jasper said, nibbling on the last bit of his ice cream. "Come here. Help make new flavors, and spend time with Lyra. You'll smile more, I promise." Elliot looked at the boy, then at Lyra, who was cleaning up the counter with a soft smile. He realized that Jasper was right. Life had become monotonous, filled with routine and worry. But moments like this, small, glowing, sweet, reminded him why humans had endured and thrived across the stars. Happiness, connection, and laughter were just as important as technology or survival. "You know what, Jasper?" Elliot said, lifting the boy up onto his shoulders. "I think you're right. We should do this more often. It's good for the soul." Jasper squealed in delight, wrapping his arms around his uncle's neck. Lyra looked at them both and laughed softly. "It seems this little boy is more clever than I thought. Perhaps he truly understands the power of happiness better than most adults here." Elliot chuckled, feeling a warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. "You're right. And maybe some of that happiness can rub off on me, too." The day ended with Jasper and Elliot helping Lyra close her stand, packing away the leftover ingredients and cleaning the counter. As they walked home through the glowing streets of Titan Colony, Elliot noticed something he had almost forgotten. The joy of simple things. The laughter of a child, the calm of a friend, the sweetness of a carefully crafted ice cream cone. They all had power. Power to heal, to connect, and to remind humans of what made them extraordinary. That night, as Elliot lay in his bunk, he thought about the day. The colony would always have problems, the systems would always demand attention, and the work would never truly end. But he felt a spark of something new. Hope, light, and a reason to smile more often. And it all started with a little boy, a glowing basket of berries, and a blue-skinned ice cream lady who reminded him that life could be sweet, even on the coldest moon. Elliot drifted to sleep with a quiet sense of gratitude. Tomorrow, he decided, he would return to the market. He would help create new flavors, share laughter, and maybe, just maybe, discover more of the joy he had thought he lost forever. Jasper had been right. Happiness was contagious. And sometimes, all it took was a simple act of sharing, a small connection, and a little ice cream to change everything. The next week in Titan Colony dawned like any other, cold, glowing, and alive with activity. Elliot Kane walked through the maintenance corridors, his mind wandering back to the previous days with Jasper and Lyra. The simple joy he had felt at the market seemed distant now, replaced by the constant hum of machinery demanding his attention. "Elliot, we need you at the energy conduits immediately," shouted a voice over his comlink. He frowned. "On my way," he replied, gripping his toolkit tightly. The voice belonged to Marla, the chief engineer. Something in her tone suggested urgency. Elliot knew that even small malfunctions could escalate quickly in Titan Colony. Life depended on the energy systems being stable. When he arrived at the central conduit room, Elliot's eyes widened. Sparks flickered along the massive energy lines, and warning lights blinked frantically. A critical section of the power grid that supplied oxygen and heat to several residential sectors had malfunctioned. Without immediate repair, hundreds of colonists could be at risk. Marla looked at him. Worry etched on her face. "We've tried stabilizing the flow, but it keeps overloading. We need someone who can think outside the system quickly." Elliot swallowed hard. This was more than routine maintenance. This was a crisis. He took a deep breath and nodded. "Let's do this." Back at the market, Jasper was practicing his jumping games on the soft floor panels, unaware of the tension building in the colony. Lyra was arranging ingredients at her ice cream stand, humming softly as she worked. When she noticed Elliot approaching, her silver eyes widened in surprise. "You're early today," she said. "Did you sleep well?" Elliot shook his head, forcing a faint smile. "Not really. There's a problem at the central conduit. I have to go immediately. Lyra frowned. Is it serious? Yes, Elliot admitted. If we don't fix it soon, parts of the colony could lose oxygen. I might need your help. Lyra's eyes lit up with determination. Of course. Let's go. I have some tools and systems that might stabilize the overload. Jasper, who had overheard the conversation, gasped. You're going to fix the colony together? Thanks for watching. You are one. Elliot ruffled his hair. Yes, little man. But you have to stay here and be safe. Jasper pouted but nodded. Okay, Uncle. Just come back smiling. All right? Elliot laughed softly, though the weight of the mission pressed on him. I'll try my best. Together, Elliot and Lyra made their way through the winding maintenance tunnels toward the central conduit room. The corridors were dimly lit, and the hum of energy grew louder as they approached the problem site. Sparks flickered along the metal walls, and the faint scent of ozone filled the air. Elliot quickly assessed the situation. The conduit's control matrix is overloaded, he explained. If the feedback isn't stabilized, the entire sector could shut down. Lyra studied the system with her alien technology, her fingers glowing faintly as she interfaced with the energy lines. I can introduce a stabilizing flow using my field regulators, but it will require precise timing. One mistake could make it worse. Elliot nodded, his mind racing. I'll handle the manual adjustments. You coordinate the stabilizers. For the next several hours, the two worked in harmony, humans and alien combining skills to tackle the crisis. Elliot crawled along the conduit lines, tightening circuits, rerouting flows, and monitoring pressure levels. Lyra's regulators hummed softly, sending pulses of controlled energy into the matrix. Sparks continued to flicker dangerously. But Elliot's hands were steady, guided by years of experience, and an unspoken trust in Lyra's guidance. Almost there, Elliot muttered, wiping sweat from his forehead. Just a few more adjustments. Lyra nodded. Careful. Now. She activated the final stabilization sequence. For a tense moment, the conduit groaned, lights flickering violently. Then, gradually, the overload subsided. The hum of the energy system returned to normal, steady and calm. Elliot exhaled, leaning against the wall for support. We did it, he said, voice filled with relief. Lyra smiled, though exhaustion showed in her features. Yes, we did. Together. Outside the maintenance tunnels, the colony continued its routine, unaware of how close it had come to disaster. Elliot and Lyra emerged, their relief mirrored in their tired smiles. Jasper, waiting near the market, ran toward them. You're back, he exclaimed, throwing his arms around Elliot. And you're smiling. Elliot laughed, ruffling Jasper's hair. I promised, didn't I? Lyra knelt down beside them. It seems your optimism works, young one. Your uncle made it back safely, and smiling. Jasper beamed proudly. I knew it. I told you, Uncle. As the three walked back toward the market stand, Elliot reflected on the day. The crisis had been intense, exhausting, and dangerous. But it had also reminded him of something crucial. Humans thrived not just because of their technology or knowledge, but because of their determination, ingenuity, and the bonds they formed with others, even with beings from other worlds. Lyra glanced at Elliot, her eyes softening. You have remarkable focus, Elliot Kane. But what impressed me most was your ability to remain calm, even under pressure. That's very human. Elliot chuckled, feeling a sense of warmth. It's easier when someone you trust is working beside you. Jasper tugged at his uncle's sleeve. Can we make ice cream now? To celebrate? Elliot laughed again. Absolutely. I think we've earned it. Back at the market, Lyra began mixing a new batch of cones while Elliot and Jasper helped. The three of them worked together seamlessly. turning the evening into a celebration of life, teamwork, and small joys. Even as the colony faced daily challenges, moments like these reminded Elliot why he had chosen to stay here, why he worked so hard, and why he had begun to smile again. By the time night fell over the glowing dome, the air was filled with laughter, chatter, and the sweet scent of alien ice cream. Elliot looked at Jasper and Lyra, feeling a rare sense of contentment. The crisis of the day had tested him, pushed him to his limits, and shown him the strength of collaboration. But it had also deepened the bond he shared with the two most important companions in his life at that moment, a clever young boy and an extraordinary ice cream lady who had taught him to smile again. As they closed the stand, Lyra handed Elliot a small cone. "For you, Elliot Kane. A reward for courage and determination." Elliot took a bite, savoring the familiar sweetness. It was more than ice cream. It was a symbol of connection, resilience, and the joy that humans could create, even on the coldest moons. He looked at Lyra, grateful not only for her help during the crisis, but also for the way she had reminded him that life could be joyful, even amid hardship. Jasper yawned, leaning against his uncle. "Can we come back tomorrow?" Elliot smiled, ruffling the boy's hair once more. "Of course. Tomorrow, we'll make more flavors, share more laughter, and maybe face new adventures. Together." As they left the market and headed home, Elliot realized something profound. Challenges would always come, both in the colony and in life. But humans had an incredible capacity to endure, to innovate, and to connect with one another. And with the right companions, no obstacle was too great, no problem too difficult, and no day too dark to find a reason to smile. That night, as Elliot lay in his bunk, he thought about the day. The crisis had reminded him that life was unpredictable, but it had also shown him that courage, trust, and teamwork could overcome even the most dangerous situations. He closed his eyes, a quiet smile on his face, thinking about Jasper's laughter, Lyra's calm strength, and the simple joy of ice cream shared with friends. And for the first time in a long while, Elliot Kane slept soundly, ready to face whatever challenges the colony or life itself might bring. The morning light in Titan Colony shimmered across the glass domes, casting soft reflections on the icy surface beyond. Elliot Kane stretched as he walked through the corridors, feeling the familiar hum of the energy systems beneath his feet. The events of the previous week, the ice cream adventures, Jasper's cheerful matchmaking, and the emergency at the power conduits still lingered in his mind. For the first time in years, he felt something more than routine fatigue. He felt a spark of life. Jasper, bouncing beside him as always, was eager to start the day. "Uncle, today we're going to try a new flavor. I thought of it last night." Elliot smiled. "All right, little man. Lead the way." At the market stand, Lyra was already busy preparing ingredients. Her silvery eyes brightened as Elliot and Jasper approached. "Good morning. You two. Ready to experiment?" Jasper clapped his hands. "Yes. Uncle has to try this one first. It's called Cosmic Berry Surprise." Elliot chuckled. "Sounds promising. Let's see if it lives up to the name." As Lyra mixed the glowing berries with her alien ingredients, Elliot helped Jasper arrange toppings. They worked together seamlessly, a little trio of laughter and focus in the heart of the colony. The new flavor, when finished, sparkled like a small galaxy, radiating warmth and sweetness. Elliot took a tentative bite. The taste exploded in his mouth, sweet, tangy, and oddly comforting. For a moment, he closed his eyes, savoring it. This is amazing. Jasper, you were right. It's perfect." Jasper grinned, pleased with the praise. "I told you." Lyra watched them quietly, a small smile on her lips. "It seems you both bring out the best in each other." Elliot looked at her, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. Her words carried more meaning than just ice cream. He realized that Jasper's joy and Lyra's presence had brought him out of the routine of work and worry. For the first time in years, he felt alive, not because of duty, but because of connection. Just then, a comm alert interrupted their morning. Marla's voice came through urgently. "Elliot, we've detected a minor energy fluctuation near Sector Delta. It's not critical yet, but it could affect life support if it worsens. Can you check it?" Elliot frowned. "On my way," he replied, glancing at Lyra. "I'll need you again." Lyra nodded, determination in her eyes. "Of course. Let's make sure the colony stays safe." As they approached the affected sector, Elliot noticed a subtle shift in the air. The hum of the energy systems was irregular, almost hesitant. He realized that while the previous crisis had been intense, this fluctuation required a different kind of attention, care, patience, and understanding. Working side by side, Elliot and Lyra examined the conduits. Lyra's alien tools glowed faintly, interfacing with the system in ways Elliot had never seen. He adjusted circuits and valves, while she stabilized the energy fields, their efforts perfectly synchronized. "This fluctuation is unusual," Elliot said, scanning the readings. "It's almost like the system is responding to something emotional, like it's alive." Lyra tilted her head. "Humans often underestimate the subtle connections between life and technology. Perhaps the colony's systems are influenced by the collective human presence and mood." Elliot paused, thinking about it. Could happiness, care, and connection really influence a mechanical system? The idea seemed strange, but he had learned not to dismiss possibilities too quickly, especially after everything that had happened with Lyra and Jasper. Jasper, who had insisted on accompanying them this time, peeked over a railing. "Uncle, maybe the energy is happy when people are happy. Like me and Lyra." Elliot chuckled softly. "You may be onto something, little man." After hours of careful adjustments and monitoring, the fluctuations stabilized. The energy flow returned to normal, smooth and steady. Elliot leaned against a wall, exhausted but satisfied. Lyra stood beside him, her hand brushing against his. For a brief moment, neither spoke, both aware of the silent bond that had formed between them. "You did well," Lyra said softly, her eyes reflecting the gentle glow of the conduit lights. "Your focus, your patience. It's admirable." Elliot felt his chest tighten. "I couldn't have done it without you." Lyra's smile deepened, a warmth in her gaze that Elliot hadn't expected. "Perhaps we bring out the best in each other." The words hung in the air, heavier than any mechanical weight Elliot had ever lifted. He realized something important. This connection, this bond, was not just about helping the colony. It was about understanding, trust, and care, something he had been missing in his life for too long. When they returned to the market stand, Jasper immediately ran to greet them. "You fixed it! You're smiling again." Elliot ruffled his hair, laughing. "I told you, little man. Happiness is important, even in a colony on Titan." Jasper grinned and hugged Lyra. "See? You make Uncle happy too." Lyra laughed, a soft musical sound that made Elliot feel a little lighter inside. "It seems I have a small part in this human happiness experiment." As the evening approached, Elliot stayed behind to help clean the stand. The colony lights glimmered softly above, casting a calm glow over the market. He watched as Lyra arranged the glowing cones, her movements precise yet graceful. A thought struck him suddenly. Happiness, connection, and teamwork were not just fleeting emotions, they were powerful forces that could change the colony itself. Elliot realized that humans, despite being fragile compared to machines or alien technology, had something unique. The ability to inspire, to care, and to uplift others. That realization filled him with pride and hope. Lyra noticed his gaze and smiled. "You've been thinking a lot today." Elliot nodded. "I've realized something important. Life isn't just about work or survival. It's about connection, laughter, and sharing moments like today, or the ice cream experiments. And you remind me of that." Lyra's eyes softened. "I feel the same. Working with you and Jasper has been enlightening. You humans have a remarkable way of creating warmth, even in the coldest places." Elliot felt a surge of gratitude and affection. He had spent years focusing on duty and survival, forgetting the power of simple joys and meaningful relationships. Now, he understood that connection could be just as vital as any life support system or power conduit. Jasper, noticing the quiet moment between them, grinned mischievously. "Are you two going to start smiling all the time now?" Elliot laughed, shaking his head. "Maybe, little man. Maybe we will." 7. Lyra joined in the laughter, the three of them standing together, a small circle of light in the vast colony. Elliot realized that happiness wasn't just a feeling, it was a force that strengthened humans, bonded them together, and even gave life to the colony around them. That night, Elliot returned to his quarters with a sense of clarity he hadn't felt in years. He thought about the day's events, the crisis, the teamwork, the laughter, and the quiet moments of connection. For the first time, he understood that humans were extraordinary not because of strength or technology alone, but because of their capacity to care, create, and love. He drifted to sleep with a smile, dreaming not of repairs or routines, but of Jasper's laughter, Lyra's gentle presence, and the simple, glowing joy of a shared ice cream cone. And somewhere in the quiet hum of Titan Colony, Elliot Kane understood a profound truth. Life was brighter, stronger, and more meaningful when humans allowed themselves to feel, connect, and smile. The morning light spread gently across Titan Colony, casting its soft glow over the ice-covered domes. For Elliot Kane, it felt different that day, not because the colony had changed, but because he had. After weeks of work, ice cream adventures, and moments of connection with Jasper and Lyra, Elliot's heart felt lighter than it had in years. Jasper bounded into his uncle's quarters, eyes wide with excitement. "Uncle, today's the day. We're going to make the biggest ice cream festival Titan Colony has ever seen." Elliot laughed softly, shaking his head. "All right, little man. Let's make it memorable." The festival idea had been Jasper's, born from weeks of watching Elliot and Lyra work together, share laughter, and create joy in the small corners of the colony. Jasper wanted everyone to experience that happiness, the taste of glowing ice cream, the warmth of companionship, and the spark of human spirit. As they arrived at the market sector, the air was already buzzing with activity. Colonists, both human and alien visitors, had gathered, curious about the festival. Colorful banners hung from the ceiling of the dome, shimmering in soft blues, purples, and golds. Stalls displayed glowing ingredients, alien fruits, and an array of toppings that sparkled in the simulated sunlight. Lyra was already at the center of the preparations, coordinating the arrangements. "Good morning, Elliot, Jasper. Are you ready for the festival?" she asked, her silver eyes sparkling with excitement. Elliot nodded. "We're ready. Let's make it unforgettable." Jasper clapped his hands and ran off to help, bouncing from stall to stall. His energy was infectious, spreading through the crowd like wildfire. Even the adults found themselves smiling, their faces lighting up as they watched the little boy's enthusiasm. The festival began slowly, with small groups sampling ice cream, laughing at the glowing colors, and marveling at the strange but delicious flavors. Elliot worked alongside Lyra, crafting cones, blending glowing berries, and explaining flavors to curious colonists. Each interaction brought a sense of fulfillment he hadn't felt in years. Humans, he realized, thrived on moments of joy, curiosity, and shared creativity. As the day progressed, the crowd grew. Colonists from distant sectors, drawn by the aroma of the glowing ice cream, began to gather. Children laughed as they played near the stalls, adults exchanged stories, and even visiting aliens seemed to pause, captivated by the festival's warmth. Elliot watched it all, a quiet pride swelling in his chest. Lyra leaned closer, her voice soft. "You've done something remarkable here, Elliot. This festival, it's more than ice cream. It's a celebration of connection, of human spirit, and of hope." Elliot smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him. "I couldn't have done it without you or Jasper. He may be small, but he reminded me of what's important." The festival reached its peak as Elliot unveiled the final creation, the Galactic Delight. A massive, glowing ice cream cone with layers of every flavor they had invented together. The cone shimmered with stars, glowed faintly in the dim light of the dome, and emitted a sweet, comforting aroma that drew people from all corners of the colony. "Behold," Elliot announced, holding the cone high. "The Galactic Delight, a taste of happiness for everyone." Jasper squealed with delight. "It's perfect. Everyone's going to love it." Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting pride and affection. "It's extraordinary. Not just the ice cream, but what it represents. Connection, joy, and the power of shared effort." Colonists lined up eagerly, tasting the Galactic Delight and marveling at its flavors. Children laughed with delight, parents smiled, and even the normally reserved scientists and engineers found themselves sharing stories and laughter. The festival became a living example of what humans could do when they combined ingenuity, creativity, and care for one another. As the day wore on, Elliot noticed something profound. The energy systems of the colony seemed lighter, not mechanically, but emotionally. The hum of the conduits, the glow of the lights, and the steady pulse of life in the colony felt synchronized with the joy around them. He realized that Lyra had been right. Human emotions, happiness, and connection could influence even the environment around them. Jasper tugged at Elliot's sleeve, pointing to Lyra. "See, Uncle? You're smiling all the time now. Just like I said." Elliot laughed softly, looking at Lyra. "I suppose you were right, little man. Happiness really is contagious." Lyra's smile deepened, and she gently placed a hand on Elliot's arm. "You've changed, Elliot. Not because of this festival or the ice cream, but because you allowed yourself to see what humans are capable of, their resilience, their joy, and their capacity to care." Elliot felt a warmth in his chest. He realized that this connection, this bond with Lyra and Jasper, had transformed him. For years, he had focused only on survival, work, and duty. Now, he understood that life was richer when shared, and that joy, laughter, and love were as vital as oxygen or power systems. As the sun set over Titan Colony, casting a deep orange glow over the domes, Elliot and Lyra stood together, watching the festival continue. Jasper was darting around, sharing ice cream and laughter with other children. Elliot noticed how the simple act of sharing joy had brought the colony together, creating bonds between humans and aliens, adults and children, workers and visitors. Lyra's voice broke his thoughts. "Elliot, there's something I want to say." He turned to her, curious. I'm glad you let yourself smile again. I'm glad you allowed happiness into your life. And I think we both know that this," she gestured to the festival, the crowd, and the simple joy surrounding them, "is only the beginning of something more." Elliot's heart raced. He had felt this connection growing for weeks, but hearing her words aloud made it real. "I feel the same. Lyra, I never realized how much I needed this, needed you, until now." Lyra smiled softly, taking his hand in hers. "Then let's make a promise, not just to each other, but to Jasper and to everyone here. Let's continue to bring joy, connection, and hope to this colony. Together." Elliot nodded, feeling a profound sense of certainty. Together, Jasper ran over, his face glowing with excitement. "Are you two finally going to smile forever now?" Elliot laughed, lifting Jasper onto his shoulders. "I think we just might, little man. Thanks to you, we've learned how." The festival continued late into the night, with laughter, music, and glowing cones spreading through the colony. Humans and aliens alike shared stories, experimented with new flavors, and celebrated the simple joys of life. Elliot and Lyra worked side by side, creating, laughing, and sharing in the happiness they had nurtured. As the crowd thinned and the lights of the market dimmed, Elliot stood with Lyra, looking at the stars through the transparent dome. The moons of Saturn glimmered faintly in the distance, a reminder of how small they were in the vastness of space, yet how powerful the human spirit could be. "Elliot," Lyra said softly, "do you remember what your nephew said when we first met?" Elliot smiled, the memory vivid. He said, "If you married my uncle, he'd smile every day." Lyra laughed lightly. "And he was right. You do smile, Elliot. Every day now. Raiden. Every day. Raiden." Elliot looked at her, gratitude and affection shining in his eyes. "Yes, I do, and it's because of both of you. Happiness, laughter, connection, they're what make life worth living, even on a distant, frozen moon." Jasper yawned, leaning against Elliot's leg, exhausted but happy. Elliot laughed softly, ruffling the boy's hair. "You were right, Jasper. Happiness is magic. And we've found it here." As they walked home under the soft glow of Titan Colony's artificial night sky, Elliot realized something profound. Humans were remarkable not only for their intelligence or strength, but for their ability to love, care, and uplift one another. Even in the coldest, most distant places in the universe, the human spirit could shine brightly. That night, Elliot Kane fell asleep with a smile on his face, dreaming of glowing ice cream, laughter, and the bond he had formed with Jasper and Lyra. The colony around them thrived, not just because of technology or survival, but because of the warmth of human hearts and the joy they created together. For the first time, Elliot knew without doubt. Happiness was not just a feeling, it was a force. A force that could light up a colony, bring people together, and remind humans why they were extraordinary. And in that quiet, frozen corner of the universe, Elliot Kane smiled every day,